Hello and well met. This is Founder Leyron with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today is a special day. It is I would say, North American, I'm not sure how many other cultures or countries celebrate Turkey Day, but Thanksgiving. Today I'm going to create an NPC that is themed around the Thanksgiving turkey. So this is the D&D 5e rule set. I'm using Fantasy Grounds Unity, the latest edition. The only content I really have loaded is some pre-gens here, and then I have the bestiary, the SRD data, and the magic items. So these three modules come with the regular standard version of the license. So if you're out there shopping and you notice that there's a 25% discount right now on license keys, if you don't buy any content and you update Fantasy Grounds once you have it registered, it'll pull in this SRD data, and you'll have this at least to kind of look through things if you want. So what you're getting is a bestiary, which is just a bunch of NPCs and monsters that don't really have artwork or anything, but you'll have all the core stuff. The SRD data kind of gives you a rough, kind of like an outline and some information. And you'll get to see the formatting in Fantasy Grounds. So you have some basic things in here. Like, for instance, races, they have a few detailed in here. Very limited and pared down, but you'll have a starting point. And then you have some magic items, which normally comes out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. So you kind of have a little mixture of everything. The other two modules I have here were created, and I don't know if I'm going to use these for this session. I might use it to test out the NPC. So what we're doing today is we're going to create a turkey, a wild turkey. So I've already created the assets in external tools. I made a token in the Roll Advantage token stamp website, and I'm going to refresh the asset folder because I've just put those in the folders, and I'm going to see what comes up. So when you do that, you'll get a folder called campaign. Once you've added something to it, it'll refresh the assets, and then you'll get a folder called campaign. So in the tokens folder, I have this turkey this is what I created outside of Fantasy Grounds. So I just put this little frame around it. I turned this into a PNG file so it can be transparent. So this is just a preview image. I'm going to actually use this for the NPC stat block. So to back up and rewind a little, if I go to NPCs and you have the SRD loaded, that's basically what I have here are some basic monsters. What I did is I created a blank NPC sheet, so that is basically clicking on the green add item button, and it made a new entry that's uncategorized called new personality. So we're going to rename this as Wild Turkey, I guess. And no, I don't mean the whiskey or the alcoholic beverage. And let's see. And then here is the token. So I'm going to drag and drop that up to the top right. And that will create a little token for it. And on the back here, you have a blank slate. So you can pretty much put what you want here. I'm going to summarize some information that I looked up. So these are my notes that I looked up online before I started to create this turkey. There's some fun facts about turkeys that I didn't know. And there's a stat block here that I found for a bird, which I'm going to model the actual stats around this. So when you're creating NPCs, the thing is to kind of look up and see if there's already something out there. So someone already has a stat for a basic bird. There's probably even a turkey out there, but I kind of want to customize it for my own needs. This also assumes that the bird is regular size. So turkeys can get pretty big, and I'll go through those facts shortly, but kind of want to develop like an ecology for them so that when you're using them, you have some idea of what they're about. And that's kind of part of creating NPCs, especially ones from scratch. You want to do your research and try to find creatures or animals or examples in movies that you've already kind of have an idea of what they're about, and just kind of add to that or embellish it. So that's kind of what I'm doing now is I'm going to create an NPC Wild Turkey, and this isn't going to be a normal one by any means. He's going to be a little bit bigger than normal. It's going to be a medium-sized creature, which is pretty much man-sized. And I don't think he's going to be very friendly. So very territorial and very dominant. So we'll put that in here. I'm going to give him a trait that allows him to intimidate, those sort of things. So let's see what happens. But I'm going to use the stat block for a common bird, and then go from there. And I found out they're really fast, and there's all kinds of interesting things that I'm going to consider when I'm building the NPC. So this is the Turkey Bird edition for Fantasy Grounds. Hopefully you guys are with your families enjoying a meal today. I'm going to enjoy some spare ribs, or we're going to have ribs instead of a traditional turkey. So we're going to have that. Usually we have a standing rib roast, a ham, or a turkey. This year we're going to have a full rack of ribs. So that looks really good. It's already cooking. So anyhow, so let's take a look at this. So some things that I had researched that I never really thought would matter, but some of these things really help with learning how to, put in the data for an NPC that you know nothing about. I'm going to bring up the artwork because that's one of the things that you'll do if you do create a NPC, especially if it's something for a paid product or something you're developing for sale. So I'm going to go to the images area, and I want to import or add the image from my assets. Because right now in the images folder, I have a campaign folder, and this has the image of the turkey. So if I click this is the actual preview image. And then what I'll do is I will take and add this to the image pool. But I always want to create a category first. So I'm going to add a category, which just says group 1. And I'm going to edit the group. And I'm just going to call this holiday creatures or something, because I'm going to do some Christmas ones later on, I think. So I'll just say holiday NPCs, so they'll be themed for holidays. And as the seasons go on, I'll just keep building them until I have a whole library of seasonal creatures. So that's going to be called holiday NPCs. And I'll have holidays from other countries too, not just America. So that's that. And then I will take and add an item, or in this case, I'm going to drag the item over to the images area, or you can click on create from image assets. I don't want to do that. I only have one image, so there's no point in doing that. That's a better shortcut for when you have more than a few. So I'll just drag and drop that in there, and it creates a record, and now you get this pop-up, and this is your image that you can use for showing your players and such. And then for this preview image, I'm going to turn this also into the backdrop. So if you hit set background decal, the turkey is now part of the theme here, and you can see that it's in the background now. So that's kind of cool that you can do that. So this is the turkey bird here in the background. So that's kind of a cool thing, kind of a way to theme your game sessions and such. So that's the theme here, is the Thanksgiving turkey. This guy doesn't look very friendly, and I'd like to know what this stuff is coming out of its nose. Probably just steam, but it looks like he's got some bones down here at the bottom. So he's been eating. It's like kind of like a raptor and a vulture and a turkey like put together. It's pretty vicious looking. And I've already created a token for it and everything. So there's a token up here. So we'll see how this turns out. So just for starters, I'm going to take a look at this image. That's just all it is. It's just a picture of the bird. So for that sort of thing, when you're creating content, and if you have any artwork, on the other tab on the NPC, you can drag and drop the image as a kind of a shortcut, and then you create your basically it's like a preview of the creature itself. So I want to make a header here, so I'm just going to call this Wild Turkey, and that's going to be the main header. So Control 2 creates a bold, and then I'm going to take the image and link it onto this part here. I'm going to bold the part that says image so that kind of stands out. And whenever I want to share this image, it's handy for me. So if I have this creature or this bird attacking the characters, I can show the image if I need to. The next thing is I'm going to take some of this information out of the turkey information I've looked up, the real life stuff, and incorporate it into this Wild Turkey entry. So I'm going to put another line here. So this is going to be lore. So this will be for the actual information about the turkey itself. So we'll have a section for that, and then we'll edit the stat block according to this basic bird, and then we'll actually make it a little bit more refined for the turkey. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to take a look at some of the lore that I've looked up. So here's some real facts about the bird, and this will give me a better idea of what I want to add for features, background, lore, those sort of things. So if you're somebody that's into looking up stuff like this is interesting. So the turkey, they're not just big chickens. Apparently, they're over 45 million years of an evolved species. So there's two species that were evolved from the turkey itself. The wild turkey was hunted nearly to extinction by the early 1900s. I didn't know that. The population reached an all-time low record of just around 30,000 birds. But there was a restoration program across North America, and it's brought them up to about 7 million. So they are kind of a bird that can easily go scarce, obviously. And there's 6 subspecies of wild turkeys, and they're all native to North America. So the Pilgrims hunted and ate the eastern wild turkey, the Gallipovo sylvestris, which today has range that covers the eastern half of the United States and extends into Canada. The birds, sometimes called the forest turkey, are most numerous of all turkey subspecies, numbering more than about 5 million of them. So that's crazy. The ancient Aztecs domesticated another subspecies called the Gallipovo, which is the South Mexican wild turkey, and the Spanish brought those turkeys to Europe. The Pilgrims then brought several of these domestic turkeys back to North America. So male turkeys are often called gobblers, after their gobble call that they make to announce themselves to females, which are called hens. And it can compete with other males that way. So other turkey sounds include purrs, yelps, and kikis. So that's some of the other calls they make. An adult male gobbler weighs 16 to 22 pounds on average. It's pretty heavy. Has a beard of modified feathers and his breast that reaches 7 inches or more in length. And he has sharp spurs on his legs for fighting. A hen's a lot smaller, weighing between 8 to 12 pounds, and has no beard or spurs. Both genders have a snood, the little dangly thing here, which kind of looks gross, but it's a dangly appendage on their face, a wattle, the red dangly bit underneath the chin, and a few feathers on the head. The studies have shown that the snood length is associated with male turkey health. In addition, a 1997 study in the Journal of Avian Biology found that female turkeys prefer males with long snoods, and that snood length can also be used to predict the winner of a competition between 2 males. So, very interesting. A turkey's gender can be determined from its droppings. So males produce a spiral-shaped poop, and females' poop is kind of shaped like the letter J. So that's how you can tell them apart, especially when they're younger. Turkeys can run at up to speeds of 25 miles per hour, and they can fly as fast as 55 miles per hour. So that sort of information would come into play when it comes to the speed of the turkey. So I might put them at 35 feet per round or per turn. And then for flying speed, normally it's only half for flight. If flighted, you can fly 30 feet. I might make that like 40 or something like that. So we'll see. So a group of male turkeys will band together to court females, though only one member of the group gets to actually mate. When a hen is ready to make little turkeys, she'll lay about 10 to 12 eggs, 1 per day, over a period of about 2 weeks. The eggs will incubate for about 28 days before hatching. So baby turkeys, called poults, eat berries, seeds, and insects, while adults have a more varied diet that also include acorns and even small reptiles. I did not know that they ate other animals, but it's interesting. There is one other species of turkey called the Oscillated Turkey. They can be found on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Apparently, Benjamin Franklin never proposed the turkey as a symbol for America, but he did once praise it as being a much more respectable bird than the bald eagle. So that was some little fun facts about this turkey. They kind of have the peacock thing going on, where they have the feathers, the plumage that's supposed to intimidate their rivals and such. So we'll see, but we'll get into the actual stat block here. But I wanted to share that very informative information before we get going on this. So we have already created a token and associated that with the NPC. We have some information. I have a basic stat block. I'm going to start plugging this data in. So where it says non-ID name, this would be where we're going to put the information about the basics of this creature. So we're going to put, a feathered turkey or something. We'll just put turkey because that's basically what it is. And if they see it, they'll know it's a turkey, but it's actually a wild turkey. There's a difference between domesticated and wild, but we'll just say turkey for the non-ID name. And then you can make it unidentified, so when you add it to the combat tracker, it doesn't give up its real name, it just gives up its kind of descriptive name. For size, most of the time, animals like this are considered small beasts, but this is going to be a medium beast. So we're going to make this a medium-sized creature. It's going to be about 3 times larger than a normal bird. And then this is a beast because it's an animal. And the alignment is going to be unaligned because they don't really have any sort of real alignment. For armor class, it says 11, and that probably has to do with its dexterity. So I'm going to put 12 because this bird is a lot larger and it has going to have a little bit more dexterity. So I'm gonna beef this thing up. The hit dice here, the hit points, is a 1d6. I'm going to say it's at least a 3d6. So I'm going to change that. So the roll for this in parentheses is going to be 3d6 plus 3 because it's basically a larger, more difficult creature. And then for hit points, that's going to be the average of those. So 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21. So we're going to average this thing out and just give him a 17 hit points, roughly in there for starting. So on its speed, we're going to copy and paste this data, and I'm going to put it in there so it's in the correct format. But I also want to change, so 15 feet fly, 30 if flighted. So it's going to be 35 for the walking or the running speed, whatever you want to say it is. And then for the flight, I'm going to give it 40. It's a larger bird, and it's a lot more capable of moving quicker. So that's why I'm doing that. And the actual armor is natural plus dex. So that's what I'm going to put in the notes here for the armor. So it has a natural dexterity of 11, and then it has a +1 for its dex. So I'm going to give it a 13 for its dexterity. Normally a bird would get 12. For its strength, I'm going to give it a 4 because there's no way I'm going to give it a 1. That doesn't make any sense. Constitution, I think this is a tough old bird. I'm going to give it 11. It normally gives it a 10. For the intelligence, it says 2 here. I'm going to give it a 3 just to give it a little bit more chance to reason. And then for wisdom, they're actually given a 12, which is kind of incredible. And then for charisma, a 6. So that would be probably a 7, because they got to charm the female. So we'll see how that works. So that's basically all I did, is modified the stats a little bit. Passive perception is based off of their wisdom bonus. So they normally have a passive perception 11. So if you come down to the senses, you can copy and paste that. So passive perception in the senses is going to be 11. For languages, nothing. You just leave that blank. They don't really have a language. A challenge rating for this turkey, we'll put it at 1/8 for now. I think that's a fair, or 1/4. I think that's a fair amount. We'll give them 125 XP if you defeat one of these things. I'm just kind of guessing. This is a ballpark number. I haven't done the calculations. And then this is the movement if flighted 40 feet, and then 35 feet for the walking speed. So stats are there. There's no saving throws or skill checks or any of those kind of bonuses. Damage vulnerabilities, not so much. Damage resistances, immunities, condition immunities. You know, I don't think they could be really knocked prone very easily. I don't know if that's a thing, but I mean, I'm sure they can be knocked over, but I don't think prone is something that they would because they're already low to the ground. It doesn't make sense. So for this bird, I'm going to give him damage or condition immunity for prone. So you can't knock him over, basically. So essentially, they're kind of low to the ground normally anyways. And to knock them over, I think they just roll over. They don't actually fall over and have to get back up. I've never seen that with the turkey. So I'm just going to give him just out of whim. I'm just going to give him he's immune to being prone. So he can't be knocked off his feet. And normally when you hit one of these creatures, their language is gobble gobble. What do you mean no language? Yeah, I guess you're right. They have a language. Gobble gobble. I'll put gobble there and see if that parses. There's the gobble language. There we go. Turkey-ish. Not Turkish. Turkey-ish. Okay, so goblin, gobble. So there we go. And okay, so that is basically what we have here for that. Now I'm going to give some traits. So I'm going to give them the basic trait. So they have a bite here, which is a D4, or in this case, for a smaller bird, it's a piercing damage at one. Basically, at one each hit, they do 1 point of damage. I think for the turkey, I'm going to increase that. So I'm going to create a trait here, and the trait is going to be called bite. And what I want to do is give him this, basically this stat here, but I'm going to change it to a 3 before I paste it over there. So 3 and +2 to a hit. So he's like proficient with it. That makes sense. I'm going to actually give him a +3 to hit, because he is a higher level creature and he's basically adept at that. So that's like a proficiency bonus. So that is going to be his bite attack. So let me take this and copy and paste this. So it's a melee weapon attack. So it matters how you word this so that it parses correctly. So I'm going to hit Control Copy now that I've modified this. And then I'm going to hit Paste or Control V. And what you want to do with something like this is you'll lock it, and then you're going to put it on the basically you're going to put it on the NPC stat block. You're going to put it up on the combat tracker, and that's so that when you are working on it, you can get an idea if it's going to work. So there's the immunity to being prone, and here's the attacks basically. So I want to see what this is doing here. So melee weapon attack, reach, 1 target, hit 3. Hit, well, let's see, this is wrong. So if you look at an attack roll of any other creature, you can get an idea of how you want this to be, how you want it worded, and that's probably not worded correctly. So I want to take a look, because this is actually going to be an attack where they can, when they bite you, they can actually do a damage. I think a 1d4 would be a good number. So I want to go ahead and grab, and then for their talons, I'm going to also give them another attack, because they have that little hook there, that claw. So that would definitely give them another attack. I don't think they have a multi-attack, but they can certainly attack with, biting and clawing. So let me grab another NPC stat block, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I go to a standard creature, let's just look at something that has a regular melee attack. So if you go to the Acolyte, let's say this is the stat block for it. You scroll down, you look at their club here. This is a melee attack. See that there's reach is there. One target. See, they put the number 1 there. That needs to be spelled out and not the number 1. And then for the hit part, it says 1 target hit : 3, and then it has a range of 1d4. So I'm going to say I'm going to do it just like that. So hit is going to be 3, and then the damage is 1d4 plus 3. And then it says you don't put point there, because that's what's screwing it up. So you just put hit, and then you put damage. This says point piercing damage, so you don't want that point in there. So 1d4 plus 3, and the hit number is now going to be an average of 4 or 5. So change that to 4, and there you go. So that will fix that parsing issue. So whenever you do this, I'm going to remove the turkey off of the combat tracker, re-add, and then go to the attack roll and see if it parses. Yeah, so there's your damage, there's the hit. So that's what you want. Now I'm going to add another trait. So I'm going to unlock this again. And I'm going to do the same thing, except for I'm just going to rename this. So an easy way to do this would be just to take the information from here and hit Control A, which is Control All, Control C, which is copy. So Control A, Control C is copy, and then I'm going to add another item and click inside the damage area and hit paste, and then I'm going to call this claw attack or talons. Let's see, what does it say in here? It says that they have a, they fight. Where was that at? There was a part in here where it says they have these claws that they attack with. Yeah, okay. So they have these talons that they claw with. So we'll call it a claw attack or talon attack. What do they call that thing anyways? Let's see. Oh, spur attack. That's what it is. So the spur attack is going to be a little bit more lethal because there's going to be more weight behind it. So all I'm going to do is change the damage range. I'm going to go to a 1d6 instead of a d4. And the average is going to go up to 5. So it's really the same attack. The only difference is that it does a little bit more damage. So that's pretty nasty claw attacks, and they might get 2. So we might give them a multi-attack. So we'll see. But having 2 claw attacks in one round is pretty powerful. So it might not do that. It depends. And then I'm going to have another trait, which is going to be it's going to be like an intimidation. So we're going to put intimidation. And let's see. So I'm going to go to an orc or something and take a look at their stat block and see if they have something, like if they have a menacing thing or something like that. So we'll see. It's going to be kind of like that. So if we go to the orc, which should have a trait, here's the aggressive trait. Yeah, so they get to move up to its speed. So that's not exactly what I was looking for, but it does have an intimidation of +2. So what we can say is that if a person fails their saving throw, they will have to make a saving throw. And if they fail, they'll get the frightened condition or something like that. So this creature will intimidate you if you fail, and we'll make the roll fairly easy so that it's going to be basically like a 10 or an 8 or something like that. So I guess it would kind of depend on the creature, but it's based on charisma. So we'll just have to say if you roll under a 7, basically, you're intimidated. And that gives everyone a pretty hard or a pretty easy save on that, so it's not overpowered. So we can say intimidation, or we can call it, maybe call it something else, but it means the same thing. Maybe you guys can help me out. What do you want to call it? Like, it's when they put their feathers up like a peacock. So, I mean, it's a form of intimidation, but I'd like to call it something else. Move your butts, people. The humans are hunting. That's a dragon lair. Yeah, basically. Yeah, hobble gobble. As God is my witness. Hobgobble. Okay, so yeah, I think you're right. It's like a draconic presence. Let's take a look at that. So, draconic presence is actually going to be a lot, but it'll be very similar. I want to use that. So there's amphibious, there's frightful presence. That's basically what this is. All right, so I want to use this, but I'm going to pare it down so it's not too overpowered. So that is right. That's just like the dragon trait. Thanks for mentioning that. So it is a frightful presence. We're going to call it that. So we'll call it menacing presence or something like that. And I'm going to unlock it. And I'm going to take this information and modify it. So hit Control A, Control Copy, and then down at the bottom here, I'm going to paste this and modify it. Okay, so each creature of the dragon's choice within, I'll just say, a creature of the turkey's choice that is within, I'll say, 30 feet of the turkey and aware of it must succeed on a DC, I'm going to say 8, not 16. Actually 7. So a DC 7 wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of its turns, ending on the effect of the success. If a creature's saving throw is successful or the effect ends, the creature is immune to the dragons, or we'll say the turkeys. I like that. So it's more of a balance. So you can really only frighten someone once. That makes sense. Turkeys, frightful presence for the next 24 hours. That totally makes sense. So that's just modifying what's already there, and it has the coding and the wording in there. So that's good. So I'll go ahead and put that in there, and this will be part of the, see, it says become frightened for 1 minute, so that will be parsed in there. And then your saving throw is here, so if you have to drag and drop that onto a player, you can. And I'm basing that low saving throw on their charisma. So they're not very convincing, but once in a while they get away with it. So that's basically what we're doing there. So that's its frightening presence or frightful presence. So we'll change that to frightful, because that's essentially like a dragon. And they're going to show their plumage and scare the heck out of you. So that's kind of like a peacock. So let's see. So you can't knock them down. They have a frightful presence. They are a little bit tougher than your standard turkey bird, and they are sized medium. So that's basically what you want to do. So I'm going to delete the NPC off the combat tracker. I'm going to lock it again. And then I'm going to put this on the combat tracker because I made changes. So now that I've done that, I want to check out the attacks. So here's the offense. Yep, there's the save. There's the frightened condition. So to test that out, I'm going to grab one of these characters. Here's Centaurus, the centaur. So I want to first do the attack roll. So he's going to attack Centaurus. And he missed. So I'm going to try to give him a couple of chances here. So that time it hit, and this is a bite attack, so I want to drag and drop that onto Centaurus. So, ooh, he took 7 points of damage. That's a pretty nasty bird. And then the Spur Attack is going to be the same thing, but just a little bit stronger. So he missed there. I'm going to keep doing this until you actually... Okay, so there's another hit. And here's the damage. Okay, so the Frightful Presence, I'm going to do the saving throw and drag and drop that onto... Okay, well, he made the save, so you can't apply the... Okay, so he failed this time. So if I put this on the Centaurus, yeah, so he's frightened for 10 rounds. So that works. So that's exactly what I wanted. It was that. Thanks for the suggestion, by the way. So that's was good. Yep, Feathered Presence, Fearful Feathered Presence. Yeah, we can do that. Change that to Fearful Feathered Presence. That'll work. So, or Plumage Intimidation or something like that. Okay, so Fearful Feathered instead of Frightful, we'll say Fearful. Yep, Fearful Feathered Presence. Cool. Yeah, I definitely wanted something a little bit different. So Fearful Feathered Presence. Fearful Feathered Presence. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to reword this to Fearful. And whenever you make changes like this, you got to redo the combat tracker. So Fearful Frightened Presence. It's just a good habit to get into. Okay, so there's that. And what we're going to do is take and remove the NPC off the stat block. And then we're going to bring it back up. So right now it's in an uncategorized group. So I want to make a group for that. So we're going to call this, that's a new entry. I want to make a new group or category. So let's call this, this is going to be our holiday bird stuff or holiday NPCs. So we're going to put Frosty the Snowman and all that stuff in here eventually. So holiday NPC. So maybe I'll make a module out of this and sell it or something, and just make a whole bunch of different holiday legends and lore and stuff, and sell it as a like a holiday module or something like that. We'll see. So here's the holiday NPCs, and then what I'm going to do is drag this new entry in there. So what you do is you click on all, and then we're going to look for the turkey. So it's alphabetical, so we want to just kind of skip over to the turkey, the wild turkey. And then you just drop down the groups here. I'm not selecting, I'm just making sure it's visible. And I'm going to take the wild turkey and drag and drop it into that group. So now it has its own category. And whenever I make NPCs for the holidays, I'll make sure they're in this group. And that's also true of the images as well. So and then I'll probably have a story entry also to kind of tie it all together. And then the artwork, if I get permission, I'll get some good artwork too, and tokens. So I want to see what it looks like on a battle map. So if I go to my library, go to modules, I'm just going to look up a map module and just kind of throw it on there and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to use the Smiteworks maps, I think. Yeah, here's this. They already have line of sight on them, so I want to go ahead and add that. So the map pack is now added. And if I go into images and maps and I go to this, I can bring up this outdoor map. Here's a good example. And I'm going to take this, expand it out, and it's already got a grid on it, so it should be good to go, but I'm going to double check. So I'm going to unlock it and go to the line of sight and see it's already got the terrain on it. I noticed that there's this water down here. If you wanted to put reflection on here, you could. So this is just kind of where the turkey hangs out. And if you notice, there's a lot of data points on here. So this must be an earlier map, but if you want to cut back on the amount of data that's being used on your table, if you see this, you can reduce the number of of points. It's a new feature. So if you go to simplify the features here, like if you click on one of these dots, it'll allow you to simplify the occluder. So it just cut down, by quite a bit. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one up here. So you can simplify the occluders. So you only need what you need. I mean, there's no need to have a ton of these dots anymore. They found out, when I say they, Smiteworks found out over time that it is too excessive. Then this actually creates a performance hit. So I want to do this as well with this one. So this got a lot of data points. So you can simplify these as you find them, and that should help with your performance. So if you're having issues with a sluggish map and it's got tons of thousands of these points, you can actually simplify the occluders, and that will essentially give you a lot less grief. So like this one here, that's way too many data points. So that's kind of what you're looking for, is you just want to simplify, and you don't need all these data points for something. Now that one should have probably stayed. So you don't want to oversimplify it, but if you can get rid of some of the data points, that's very helpful. So let me simplify that. Yeah, so this is something that you'll learn as you get to know Fantasy Grounds. Like, you don't need that many occluders. So there we go. So there's the more of a simplified version of the map, and that helps with performance, like scrolling in and out and stuff. It's not as slow like this. Okay, so there we go. So that should do it. Okay, so that's basically all you need to really do to help your maps out a little, is kind of get rid of some of these data points, and make it to where Fantasy Grounds doesn't work as hard. There we go. So that's that. Now I want to put the turkey on the map. So let me grab my NPC again, put him on the combat tracker, and then I'm going to put him on the map, test it out. So I want to make sure I have a grid. So is it on? Yes, it is. I'm going to change the tint a little bit so I can see the grid a little bit easier. Turn up the opacity a little bit. That way we can see the grid. And then I'm going to put the turkey on here, and you got to be in play mode in order to engage with it. So just remember that. So put the turkey on here. Gobble, gobble, there he is. And make the token a little bigger. Make him visible. There we go. So there's the token for that turkey bird. And that's what he looks like on the combat tracker on the battle map. So then I'll take this guy, this Centaurus, and put him on here. So he is part of the map too. So there's Centaurus, there's the turkey. There we go. Cool. Now the turkey bird, being that he doesn't have any special vision, if you turn on the lighting tool, so in other words, I'm going to go to the ambient lighting and turn it on, and that's basically what you're going to see for this. And if you go to dawn, that's basically the vision or that this turkey would have. So if you go to this, you select it, you're going to see the shadows. If you deselect it, that's basically, as a game master, that's basically what the game master sees. Now this is the player vision. If you turn that on as well, so this is what the turkey guy will see when he's looking around the map and moves and such. So all right, so then there's Centaurus, that's his view, what he's seeing. And then you can turn that off if you don't need that anymore. So that's cool. So that's basically a daytime thing, and then that you have to have the token selected. So there we go. So there's your turkey bird. And if you double click on it, it brings up the stat block. And normally when I'm playing, I will have the map centered over here on the right. And then I'm going to go ahead and readjust it so it's recentered. And then turn off the map tool thing and go. And then I'd have this turkey bird right here. And then the character sheet. Double click on that, it brings up the character sheet. And I'd do the same thing. But I'd have it on the Actions tab. and then it's on combat in action. So that's ready to go. So I'm going to do a little mock battle here. So the turkey goes on 21. So I'm just going to put Centaurus as 1 because I'm not going to roll initiative. And there we go. So I'm going to say that Centaurus has walked up into his territory. The turkey is upset. He's going to make an attack. So I haven't decided to give him a multi-attack yet, but what I was thinking is that he might be able to make 2 spur attacks, but it might be a little overpowered for his stat block. We'll see. So I'm going to go up and make a spur attack. So he's going to hop up in the air and start clawing the centaur. So he's going to move over. So if I'm the GM, I'm going to hold down the Alt key, drag this token over, go ahead and approve the movement. So now he's in melee range. And he's going, kind of like flapped his wings and he just hopped over there. And as he's coming down, he's raking him with a spur attack. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop the spur attack on top of the token there. He rolled a 1. So what I'm going to say is that when he went up in the air, his wing got caught up and he just kind of fluttered around and failed. So that's the end of his turn. So Centaurus looks at him and he's like, no, I don't want to hurt you, but you're going to get it, bird. So Centaurus' sheet, he's got a spear +1. So he's going to try to jab at it with just one hand. So I'm going to go ahead and take that and drag and drop the attack roll. And that is a hit. I'm not sure why he got disadvantage, but there we go. Oh, because he's frightened. So I forgot. The baby Centaurus is already freaked out. So the frightened effect, but he still did well. He dropped a 14 and he critted on a 19. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and drag the damage. So that did 7. So the bird took some damage there. So that hurt. All right, so the turkey is going to bite this time. So he's kind of fell onto the ground, rolled up, and now he's going to kind of peck at his legs, basically. So drag and drop this on top, see if he hits, and he misses. So basically, that's just how you test the NPCs out, is to make sure that they're working right. That's the process. So you do your research, get your artwork, build your NPC, and then put it in the combat tracker as you're building it to test it out and make sure that all the features are working and that they're parsing. The key is this wording here has to be correct. And then also your saving throws and stuff have to be mentioned correctly. So this is a DC 7 wisdom saving throw. It's spelled out. It's not, you don't want to use acronyms unless that's the normal format. Same thing with this bite attack. When I first copied the data over, it said 3 points of piercing damage. Well, for Fantasy Grounds, you don't need that. So take that points out of there. So that's all it takes is one word or one wrong case, and that'll break the automation for the parsing. You are dinner tonight. Congratulations. Yeah, no doubt. So dinner tonight, folks. So that's the turkey bird. So what I was trying to do is illustrate and kind of motivate you with a theme, with the turkey bird theme. Not everyone celebrates Thanksgiving, but what I was trying to show is the NPC process. So that's probably one of the harder things to master as a content creator, especially if you're new to Fantasy Grounds, is the NPC. So if you start from scratch, you have to know a lot of different things. But if you use a model or something that's already built and just borrow it and kind of tailor it to your needs, it's a lot easier to do. Calculating this challenge rating and the XP is kind of depends on the creature. There's tools online like the Kobold Fight Club that you can use to help you determine those and come up with a better challenge rating and such for custom creatures. Or you can use something similar. But just remember, when you add things like prone immunity and this frightful presence and then having an additional attack, that can up the challenge rating and the XP value. Okay, so that's it. So that's all I got. Have a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. I'll see you around, and hopefully all of you will be using Fantasy Grounds and that you're taking advantage of all the sales that are going on. I know it's Christmas. There's probably gifts you have to buy, but I'm telling you, I looked at all the different websites that I normally go to, like Kobold Press, AAW Games, even Paizo has a 25% off for starting probably tonight, going all the way till Cyber Monday. So if you guys are out there in shopping land, just set a little aside for yourself if you can afford it, and get yourself some stuff. This is a good time to pick it up. I just grabbed some Fantasy Grounds content for $50, and I got like 4 or 5 different modules. So that's not bad. There's quite a sale. Like some of it's like 50% off. It's crazy. Also, if you're into third-party content like Rob Toohey stuff or even Grim Press or anyone like that, I'm pretty sure there's some sales on the DMs Guild. So if you guys are into that sort of thing, there's that too. I would be remiss to not mention that because I think Rob has his Insanity bundle sale, and then there's some other stuff going on. So just keep that in mind. So if you're new to Fantasy Grounds, I encourage you to go first to the official Fantasy Grounds Discord. If you're not getting the help you need, or if you're still kind of lost, come on over to the Fantasy Grounds Academy Discord. The links are in the description for the video. And when you join our community, you'll be greeted, and we'll direct you to whatever resources you need. And then as far as if you want to volunteer and help give back to the community, that'd be great. We're definitely looking for people from all over the world, not just the United States. And we're also looking for people that have talent, or that people that have a really good familiarity with a certain rule set, whatever it is. I'm sure you'll have something to bring to the table. And then last but not least, I wanted to do another shout out to the digital DM who had passed away recently. If it hadn't been for his early work on the Fantasy Grounds platform, I don't think the Academy or the Fantasy Grounds College would have even existed. So my heartfelt feelings go out to his friends and family, his son and his mom, and all that, even his brother. So all those things, are part of the community, and I really appreciate what David had brought to